Chapter 2. Chemistry that feels like fate, dopamine, cortisol, oxytocin. To understand why intensity felt like destiny, follow the chemistry. Start with dopamine. It isn't the pleasure molecule. It's the anticipation signal. Dopamine surges when something might happen, when there's uncertainty, when the outcome is variable, when your brain predicts a possible reward but can't pin down the timing. That's why the chase lights you up. When texts arrive unpredictably or affection appears in bursts, your brain tags the pattern as high priority. The possibility of connection, not the connection itself, drives the spike. Uncertainty is a feature, not a bug in this loop. Variable cues, 3 sweet days, 1 cold week. Create a variable ratio schedule, the same pattern that keeps people pumping slot machines. Your brain learns that effort might produce a jackpot at any moment, so it doubles down. Each intermittent reward strengthens the pursuit because the gap heightened dopamine, and the payoff stamped the circuit deeper. Maybe today becomes rocket fuel. You aren't weak. You're responsive to a powerful learning system tuned by unpredictability. Add cortisol to the mix, and intensity sharpens. Cortisol is your stress hormone, built to mobilize energy under threat or challenge. In chaotic relationships, your baseline stays elevated, raised alertness, shallow breath, tight muscles. When conflict breaks out, cortisol climbs. Your senses narrow. Then reconciliation hits, and cortisol drops. That descent feels like relief washing over your body, and relief feels meaningful. The mind calls that meaning love, but the body is just exiting a stress state. The fall is the thrill, not the cliff. This is the stress-love loop. Threat, pursuit, partial resolution, repeat. Each cycle pairs arousal with attachment cues. We're okay now. They do care. We're meant to be because we survived that. Your nervous system starts to rely on stress to feel connected. Calm doesn't register as connection because the loop taught you that closeness arrives after alarm. Without the spike, closeness feels flat. Your body asks, where's the swell? When it doesn't come, you mistake regulation for emptiness. Now oxytocin. It's the bonding peptide released during eye contact, affectionate touch, orgasm, and moments of trust. But oxytocin doesn't check for context. It binds to what's present. If oxytocin floods during relief after conflict, the body pairs the person with safety, even when they were also the source of fear. That pairing is sticky. Trauma oxytocin feels like warmth after a storm, amplified by cortisol's decline. Secure oxytocin feels like warmth in fair weather, steady and quiet. If your baseline is chaos, the fair weather version reads as background noise. This is why missing them can feel like panic. Withdrawal isn't only grief, it's neurochemical imbalance. When you step off the variable schedule, dopamine drops, cortisol stays jumpy, and oxytocin cues are absent. Your system reads absence as danger. Cravings show up, not just for the person, but for the relief their return brings. That relief used to normalize your hormones. Now without it, your body screams for regulation and points to the fastest route. Go back. The mind calls that urge love. Chemically, it's homeostasis hunting a shortcut. Peak-trough cycles deepen over time. Highs get higher because you chase bigger signals. Bolder reconciliations, bigger gestures, longer gaps to intensify the reunion. Baselines sink lower because everyday interactions feel dull compared to the surge. This is tolerance. Like any escalated loop, it takes more volatility to feel the same aliveness. Meanwhile, your capacity to rest in steady connection shrinks. You interpret the absence of turbulence as disconnection, when it's actually the absence of adrenaline. Here's the kicker. If you grew up in a system where stress and care were braided, your body maps that braid as intimacy. So when you meet someone steady, your brain doesn't get the anticipatory ramp, cortisol doesn't spike, oxytocin rises gently and consistently. And that feels off. Not wrong in logic, but wrong in sensation. Your reference point is a roller coaster. A level path feels like standing still, even if it's carrying you somewhere real. We need to name a subtle confusion: intensity versus compatibility. Intensity is a neurochemical profile. Uncertain reward, stress arousal, relief bonding. Compatibility is a values and regulation match. Aligned pace, dependable repair, mutual respect. Chaos runs high on intensity and low on compatibility. Secure love runs low on volatility and high on compatibility. If your body was trained to equate how much I feel with how right this is, compatibility will look underwhelming next to intensity, even when it's precisely what supports long-term desire. Notice micro moments. They cancel a plan without warning. Cortisol rises. They return with a grand apology. Oxytocin floods. Dopamine spikes across both moments. Anticipation of loss, anticipation of reunion. So your memory tags the reunion as proof the love is deep. Meanwhile, the person who texts when they said they would? Your dopamine doesn't need to spike because there's nothing to predict. Oxytocin grows like a moss instead of a wildfire. You don't feel the drop because there was no surge. You call that boring. Your nervous system calls it regulated. There's also a cognitive overlay. Under stress, your prefrontal cortex, the part that weighs long-term consequences, goes a little offline. Short-term relief wins. That's why you find yourself answering a late-night message you swore you'd ignore. In the moment, the body wants the chemical correction. The mind then backfills the choice with a story. Our connection is rare. We're twin flames. The story isn't random. It protects the loop by giving it meaning. Without meaning, you'd face the raw chemistry and the cost it's charging your health. Speaking of health, chronic stress and intermittent reward aren't just emotional. Elevated cortisol over time affects sleep, digestion, immune function, and mood. Dopamine volatility can flatten your everyday pleasure. Food, work, friends feel muted compared to relationship spikes. Oxytocin dysregulation can make solitude feel unsafe because your body leans on partner cues to settle. This isn't moral, it's biological. Seeing it clearly cuts shame and opens choices that strengthen your system rather than burn it. So how do you tell the difference between trauma oxytocin and secure oxytocin in real time? Listen for the context. If the warmth arrives after a threat, if your shoulders drop like you just outran something, that's relief bonding. If the warmth arrives during a normal Tuesday, if it feels easier to breathe without any performance, that's secure bonding. Relief feels dramatic. Security feels ordinary. Ordinary is not an insult. It's a nervous system basking in consistency. Here's a helpful reframe. The quiet you mislabel as no chemistry is often the absence of cortisol, not the absence of connection. Your body isn't bored, it's detoxing. When you first stop riding the spikes, you'll feel flat. That flatness doesn't mean incompatibility. It means your reward system is recalibrating its sensitivity. Give it time with consistent cues and gentle novelty, and dopamine will stop demanding fireworks before it lets you feel spark. Chemistry explains the intensity. Trauma makes the bond hard to break. The same learning mechanisms that helped you survive, seeking patterns, pairing relief with closeness, become the glue. Naming the molecules doesn't make the pull vanish, but it lets you say, my body is asking for a rush, my life is asking for a route. In the next chapter, we'll see how power and intermittency turn these molecules into a tie that resists logic, and why knowing the mechanics helps you quietly loosen it. Chapter 3. The mechanics of trauma bonding, intermittency, and power. This was the moment everything changed. Not the apology, not the promise, but the quiet after the storm when your chest finally unodded. Relief felt sacred. That feeling is the hook. Trauma bonding isn't a character defect. It's a learning loop that exploits intermittency and power. When care arrives on a variable schedule under uneven power, the nervous system fuses fear and closeness into one experience. Then it defends that fusion like it's oxygen. Start with the idealize, devalue, reconcile cycle. At the beginning, you're idealized. They mirror your dreams, speak your language, move fast. It feels like recognition. Your system upgrades them from stranger to sanctuary. Then the devalue phase slips in sarcasm, contempt, withdrawal, a sudden chill that makes you question what you said or who you are. Your body spikes into alarm. Finally, reconciliation, apologies, tenderness, future talk. The contrast creates a high. Your system tastes reunion as proof of depth. It's not depth, it's contrast. Love bomb to silence is a power move even when it's unconscious. The acceleration at the start compresses boundaries. You disclose more, commit faster, and orient your schedule around their availability. Then silence. Your mind scans for the rupture point. In that uncertainty, you're more suggestible. When contact returns, the body relief binds to the person who just ended the alarm. Power concentrates with the one who controls the on-off switch. Even if they insist, I'm just busy. Access becomes a currency you'll pay for with flexibility, explanations, and self-doubt. Intermittent reward cements pursuit, because effort becomes meaningful under variable ratio schedules. The slot machine doesn't pay every pull. It pays just enough to keep you there. In relationships, just enough can be a weekend of closeness after a week of ambiguity. The payoff backdates value onto the ambiguity, like a gambler telling themselves the dry spell mattered because the win finally came. You don't just chase the person, you chase redemption from the last low. Gaslighting intensifies the bind. It can be blatant, that never happened. Or subtle, you're too sensitive, you misunderstood. Why are you making it a big deal? Your memory of events becomes the battleground. To keep the bond, your mind sacrifices certainty. Cognitive dissonance kicks in. If they love me, they wouldn't hurt me. I'm hurting, therefore, I must be misreading. You edit your own experience to preserve the relationship. The brain protects the worldview that promises belonging, not the facts that threaten it. Fear, relief pairing runs underneath like a metronome. A raised voice, a slammed door, a delayed reply, a glance that signals withdrawal. These cues trigger fear. The counter cue, soft eyes, a hand on your back, a ping on your phone, delivers relief. The pairing conditions your body to interpret the reliever as savior. The catch is that the savior is also the source of threat. That paradox deepens attachment because the stakes feel existential. I need you to stop my pain. The more you need them to relieve it, the more power they hold. Shame binds the system tighter. When something hurts, shame whispers, "It's my fault, I can fix this." That belief offers a sense of control. If your behavior caused the coldness, your behavior can bring warmth back. Repair becomes a performance. Be nicer, smaller, sexier, less needy, more available. In the short term, the performance sometimes works because any warm response feels like proof you've found the lever. Long term, you erode self-trust. And the relationship becomes a classroom where the lesson is earn your air. Microstory. After a cruel jab at the party, they show up with flowers and your favorite tea. Your body inhales the scent and exhale returns. You watch their face, softer than last night. Tears come, not only from pain, but from relief. You accept the gift and the embrace. Your system learns the wrong lesson. Cruelty is followed by care. Therefore, care is meaningful because it follows cruelty. Without naming it, you just reinforce the schedule. Power doesn't just live in personality. It lives in access to resources and alternatives. Whoever has fewer social anchors, less money, less housing security, less immigration status, or more stigma has less exit power. Intermittency hits harder when leaving jeopardizes survival. That's why some bonds feel unbreakable. They're welded by practical constraints as much as chemicals. If your world shrank during the relationship, friends drifted, hobbies faded, power consolidated further. Isolation is a feature of control, not a glitch. There's also the loyalty trap, sunk costs. You've invested time, identity, dreams. Walking away threatens the story you told yourself about who you are. Resilient, forgiving, loyal. Cognitive dissonance again. If I'm loyal, I don't quit. If I leave, I'm disloyal. Therefore, I should try harder. The cycle becomes a self-esteem economy where each reconciliation buys back your sense that you're a good partner. Meanwhile, the baseline keeps sinking. What nobody knew at the time. Your nervous system is keeping score, not in words but in thresholds. Each crisis raises the activation needed to feel close. Each reconciliation raises the bar for what counts as repair. Normal kindness can't compete with crisis-grade affection. That's why healthy attention feels underwhelming when you're trauma-bonded. It isn't underwhelming, it's just not performing at stadium volume. You might wonder, but what if they're struggling? Shouldn't I be compassionate? Compassion without boundaries becomes complicity. Trauma bonding thrives in the grey zone between empathy and self-abandonment. Repair requires accountability and change, not just remorse. Performative remorse looks tearful, but resists patterns. Functional repair maps the behavior, names the impact, installs new guardrails, and proves consistency over time. If the cycle keeps resetting to promise, rupture, grand gesture, you're not in repair, you're in reruns. Meanwhile, something else is happening inside. Identity merges with the role the cycle assigns you. Rescuer, redeemer, weather forecaster. The cycle gives you a job. The job gives you purpose. Purpose feels like love, especially if earlier life taught you that love equals usefulness. When a relationship makes you essential through crisis rather than chosen through calm, the bond tightens around duty. You'll mistake exhaustion for devotion and hypervigilance for care. This decision would haunt you because the cycle gradually narrows your window of acceptable emotion. Joy feels suspicious. When's the drop? Sadness feels dangerous. Will it push them away? Anger feels forbidden. Will it trigger the devalue phase? You monitor yourself to keep the schedule stable, which means the schedule is controlling you. That's power, when your internal state orients around protecting access rather than protecting health. Here's where it gets practical. To loosen a trauma bond, you don't fight the chemicals head-on. You interrupt the schedule. Predictable routines starve intermittency. Externalize contact, no contact or low contact when necessary, with clear time frames. Replace isolation with anchors. Friends you see every Tuesday, a group that expects you, a therapist who tracks reality with you. Name behaviors, not feelings. Silent for 3 days. Sarcasm in front of friends. Apology without changed timing. Facts cut through gaslighting fog. Create a relief alternative. If relief is the glue, you need new sources of relief that aren't tied to the person. Ice water on your face to engage the dive reflex. Walking until your breath drops. Calling someone who won't analyze the bond, but will sit with you through the urge. Ritualize the wave. This is the 20-minute surge. It will pass. When you don't pair the drop in anxiety with a reunion, the association weakens. Slow work, steady results. You'll also need a shame antidote. Self-respect scripts. Short, calm statements you repeat and enact. I don't explain my boundaries more than once. I leave when I'm mocked. I repair with people who repair. These scripts convert identity into action. Each time you act them out, you rebalance power toward yourself. Not dominance, autonomy. While the bond forms in private, culture teaches you to crave it. Movies sell intensity as destiny and reconciliation as proof. Songs frame jealousy as passion. Friends say, if it's not hard, it's not real. The myth launders the cycle. In the next chapter, we'll step out of your living room and into the stories that trained your nervous system to confuse drama with depth, and why calm started sounding like silence instead of love. Chapter 4. How stories train your nervous system, culture's passion myth. While that was happening in your body, something else was shaping your expectations. The stories you grew up swimming in. Culture didn't invent your imprint, but it gave it language. Movies, songs, and feeds taught you to read turbulence as depth and calm as indifference. Your nervous system listened. The script you absorbed wasn't neutral. It primed your biology to chase friction and doubt steady care. Think about the romance arcs you were fed. Meet cute, spark, misunderstanding, separation, grand gesture, reunion. It's the same variable schedule in cinematic clothing. The middle conflict is framed as proof of realness. The reconciliation gets the swelling score, the tears, the kiss in the rain. Your body records the rhythm, tension, rupture, relief. Then, in your life, when that rhythm appears, it feels familiar, and familiarity gets mistaken for rightness. Media equates drama with depth because drama reads well on a screen. Quiet repair doesn't trend. Two people texting back when they said they would isn't a plot. So calm gets miscast as apathy, and consistency as lack of chemistry. Meanwhile, jealousy is scored as passion, fights as foreplay, and unpredictability as charisma. Even enemies to lovers teaches that contempt can be a prelude to connection. Your nervous system learns to listen for spikes. Dating apps take this myth and add circuitry. Swipe economies gamify novelty. Each right swipe, each match is a variable reward. Dopamine ramps, not because you found a life partner, but because maybe. Conversations ghost and revive like mini soap operas. The interface trains your brain to prefer the edge. The next person, the next ping, the next fix. Baselines shift. Steady interest feels less valuable than the uncertain pull of someone sporadically engaged. Then there's the way we talk about chemistry. It's often code for anxiety, dressed up as destiny. I don't know why, I just feel so alive around them, can mean your sympathetic nervous system is lit. The spark is often a stress spike, a cocktail of hypervigilance and intermittent reward. But the word chemistry carries authority. It sounds scientific, so you trust the spike as proof. You dismiss the slow warmth that builds with reliability, because nobody wrote ballads about a calendar invite and clear communication. Social scripts add pressure. Friends cheer the roller coaster. But the makeups are amazing. Advice columns normalize testing. If they're jealous, they care. Influencers sell twin flame, narratives that sanctify instability. The myth turns red flags into rites of passage, as if chaos is a spiritual crucible you need to earn love. Meanwhile, steady partnerships are framed as settling, codependent, or not passionate. The bias toward spectacle trains your attention away from signals that predict long-term well-being. Survivor bias seals it. We spotlight the few chaotic couples who last and say, "See? It worked for them." We don't tally the thousands who burned out, limped along, or quietly fractured. Without the denominator, the myth survives scrutiny. Your mind clings to the exceptions because they keep the hope of intensity plus longevity alive. Hope feels good. Data feels cold. The nervous system goes with the feeling. What this does over time is subtle and corrosive. You start doubting healthy attraction. You second-guess yourself when you feel calm around someone kind. You interpret your lack of anxiety as lack of spark. If you're used to scanning for threat, you'll start scanning for flaws just to feel oriented. Confirmation bias joins the party. You look for signs that prove calm equals apathy. You find them because you interpret neutral as negative. The myth has hijacked your interpretation layer. Meanwhile, the attention economy exploits your biology. Cliffhanger episode endings, autoplay, notification badges. Everything is designed to anchor you to the uncertain next. That training doesn't stop at your screen. It bleeds into your attachment rhythms. Waiting for a reply feels like waiting for the next episode. The reward of a response lands like a dopamine-drenched reveal. If a partner behaves predictably, the show feels cancelled. Your brain asks for a new season. The myth and the mechanism reinforce each other. Listen to the soundtrack. Old love songs equate obsession with devotion. Can't live if living is without you, which frames dependency as romance. Newer tracks glamorize toxicity. We fight hard, love harder. These lyrics become mantras repeated during car rides and showers, embedding scripts in your nervous system. You're not weak for absorbing them. Brains are porous. Repetition writes grooves. Those grooves guide sensation toward meanings that aren't always true. There's a spiritual twist too. In communities that talk about growth and shadow work, it's easy to glorify relationships that trigger you as soul lessons. Sometimes that's fair. Often, it's a rebrand of chaos. If every rupture is framed as medicine, you'll stay for sickness. The myth evolves with your values. It borrows sacred language to justify familiar pain. Healing becomes confused with enduring. Initiation replaces intimacy. The nervous system nods because initiation has spikes. Intimacy often does not. So how do stories train your body? Through repeated pairings of narrative beats with emotional states. You watch a scene where a character doubts, runs, returns, and your body rides the arc, tightening, releasing, tearing up at reunion. The next time you experience a similar arc, your body recalls the pattern and anticipates the same release. It's classical conditioning via culture. Over time, your interoception, your sense of inner signals, becomes linked to external myth. You feel the script, then live it. Unknown to them, across town, someone else raised on different stories makes different choices. Families that modeled low-drama repair gave their kids a different cinema. Raised voices followed by apologies and changed behavior. Affection that didn't require a chase. Boundaries stated without punishment. Those kids' bodies learned a different beat. Com reads as connection. They don't need conflict to find depth because depth was paired, in their experience, with steadiness. This isn't superiority, it's exposure. Everything was about to change when you start telling different stories on purpose. You can't deprogram culture by force, but you can curate your inputs. Watch narratives where partners communicate before the cliff. Follow creators who celebrate green flags. Notice when a plot uses jealousy as proof and call it what it is, a writer's shortcut. Replace anthems of obsession with songs about presence. It sounds small. For a nervous system, it's repatterning. Test this. Next time you feel no spark with a consistent person, pause the cultural voiceover. Ask a quieter question. Do I feel safe enough to be honest here? If yes, you might be tasting secure oxytocin, the quiet warmth that culture forgot to glamorize. Give it time. Let your body discover that desire can grow from being seen, not chased. Let attraction be a slow burn that doesn't need a storm to glow. And when you catch yourself romanticizing friction, name the trope. This is the grand gesture bias. This is the enemies to lovers hangover. Laugh gently. Humor loosens shame. Then practice celebrating the unfilmed moments. The text that comes when they said it would. The small repair after a small miss. The Saturday where nothing dramatic happens and you still want to be there. Those moments won't trend. They will heal. Culture primes you. Trauma normalizes it. Now the body doubles down. The myth isn't just on your screen. It's in your tissues, in the way your heart rate spikes at the cliffhanger and searches for that music in your living room. If you want a different rhythm, you won't just debate ideas, you'll retrain your system. In the next chapter, we'll drop from stories to sensation and map the somatic markers that make calm feel wrong, and how to read them without obeying them.